Whew. All right, there it goes. Man, I hope this holds together this morning. My internet is glitching for some reason. Not sure what's going on there. But it's Wednesday. Man, there's a little chill in the air this morning. Just a little bit. Get me all wound up, excited. Walked out and said, ooh, should I get a coat? Nah, it's all right. It's nice this morning. Really good. Nothing a good cup of coffee can't fix, right? Let me get a sip of this real quick. There you go. Makes everything better right there. Man, busy day today, so I'm not going to keep you guys long at all. As a matter of fact, I got to get busy. I got to roll. This is a lot going on today, and so hope you're doing well wherever you're at, and praying for you. Man, we had great service last Sunday. I tell you what, it was like we had two completely different crowds. We had a Sunday morning, we had a whole group of people, and then we were missing a whole herd of people, and everybody we were missing on Sunday morning came back Sunday night. And I mean, it seemed like we were down in number a little bit, but it was like we had two completely different crowds from Sunday morning to Sunday night. And so I'm hoping we can get both of those crowds back together again. And it was just weird. We had some folks out of town, and so a lot of the folks that didn't come on Sunday morning came back on Sunday night, and vice versa. So two completely different groups, but had great crowds, great services, all things considering everything that's going on and folks traveling and people in and out. So school started back up here this last week, so everybody be safe out there. Okay, be careful. Those youngins are walking around again. Man, time's just flying by. It's crazy how time is flying. Let me give you something this morning really quick. Read the book of Esther, the entire chapter, or the entire book, chapters 1 through 10. And I love Esther. I tell you, Esther and Ruth, two books, both about women, they're both the, if you will, the main characters of these books. There is so much. They're small books. Ruth is only about 5 or 6 chapters. Esther is 10 chapters. You can sit down and read them in one sitting. It'll only take you about 30 minutes to do it. But there's so much there. I mean, there's so much you could get out of them. But today, just one quick verse. It's the theme of the whole book. And most of you know the story of Esther. Mede-Persian Empire is in control, and Xerxes is the king there. And one act of rebellion and defiance set a whole chain reaction into play. Vashti was the queen, and in a drunken party, let me give you, just paraphrase the story here. In a drunken party with king and all of his princes, he calls for Vashti because he really just wants to put her on display. He wants to show her off, and she didn't want to be showed off. She, and we always overlook Vashti for Esther, but you know what? Vashti had some standards, and she had some morals, and she said, "I will not be showed off. I will not be paraded around. I'm not a piece of meat, and I'm not going to be part of your drunken party." And she was kicked out of the kingdom. And so in the search for the next queen, they basically kidnap all the young girls of the kingdom. They bring them in and hold them captive for the next year. Well, Esther, being a Jew, was part of this, if you will, abduction. I know it sounds weird, but she's brought in, she's taken into the palace. And so here we see this story. And, Esther is in Persia because the children of Israel were taken into captivity. And so that's how they end up there to begin with. And I got to paraphrase all this to give you one very quick point this morning. as if she hadn't already been through enough, she's been taken into captivity with her uncle Mordecai. That's already happened. She's living in a country that's probably odd and weird. She's already been through a lot. She's living with her uncle. She's lost her mother and father. I mean, she's already gone through a life of just not, you wouldn't call it a really good, stable childhood, you know? She's now this young woman, and she's just been through a lot, you know? And now, king goes and abducts all the young women so he can pick a queen, and she's ripped out of her home. And you would think that she would question, you know, why? Why? Why is all this happening to me? And then we have Haman, who is, we don't have time to get into a lot of Haman, but Haman is an enemy of the Jew. And Haman tricks King Xerxes into signing this decree that on this day that all Jews can be killed. So Mordecai, her uncle, sends her a message. And she's now been picked queen. Okay, let me back up. I know I'm jumping around a little bit here. But she's been picked queen. She's now queen. Mordecai sends her a message and says, look, Haman's going to kill all the Jews. And if you think you being queen is going to keep you alive, it won't. And so you've got to approach the king, and you've got to fight for us. You've got to fight for your life, and you have to fight for the lives of the Jews. And so now here we see chapter 4. And where Mordecai says, look, you've got to do this. You've got to go before the king. And Esther sends a message back and says, look, I can't go before the king unless I'm summoned. If I go before the king and I'm not summoned, I'm dead. He'll kill me. You just don't do that. You don't walk into the king's courtroom unsummoned. And Mordecai says, yeah, but time's running out. You got to do this. And so here's what Mordecai says to Esther in verse 14. For thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargements and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? You know, and I'm sitting here thinking about just today's day and time and climate. You know, we have COVID, we have political unrest, we have just everybody angry at everybody and everything that's going on around us. And I want to challenge you with this, Christian. Let me challenge you with this. It's real easy to sit here and question why. Why is God doing this? Why are we put in this situation? Why are things so difficult? Why am I struggling? Why? When I think the better question would be, as a Christian, why not? Why not? It's easy to just look around us and get discouraged. But listen to me. God has you right where He has you for a reason. It could be God's got these things going on around us so that we Christians will rise up and take a stand and make a statement that will be heard. It could be that everything's going on around us to separate us out, to make it stand out, so that when we do say, hey, there's hope, when we do cry out that there's salvation, when we do stand up and preach and teach, that it's heard, and it needs to be heard clearly. I believe God's put us here in this time, in this generation, with everything that's going on, for such a time as this. Folks, this is not a hard time for the Christian. This should be our time as a Christian. Now, I want you to hear me. I'm going to say it again. This should not be hard times for the Christian. This is our time as Christians. We need to just stop looking at our circumstances and questioning why, but simply say, why not? Why not? Why can't this be our time? For such a time as this, God has put us here. God, you're alive today, Christian, during this time, this generation, this season in life, because God has a plan. for such a time as this. God brought Esther through everything she went through so that she could become queen for one purpose, and that was to save her entire nation. God has a plan. God wants to use you, and God wants to use me. He's got us doing what we're doing today for such a time as this. What time is it in your life? You can look around and say, well, this is horrible. Or you can look at it and say, God's got me here for such a time as this, for a purpose. Now, what that purpose is, that's between you and God. But I tell you what, let's not let the circumstances of this life hold us back from doing what God wants us to do. I'm Marc Smith, co-pastor, Ambassador Baptist Church, located 2200 Ensign Road, Ennis, Texas. We'd love to see you this Sunday if you don't have a church you regularly attend. Got to roll, got to go, got to bounce. It's going to be a busy day. See y'all tomorrow morning right here on Gleanings from this morning.